perspective on all of this. There was corruption. No honest Republican would deny it. Every honest Republican deplores it. In fact, every honest Republican hates it. But now I've presented some serious allegations that, if true, could well have affected, you got to remember how close that race, might well have affected the outcome of the 1960 presidential race. The Nixon-Kennedy election was a cliffhanger, and the debates bore heavily on the outcome of the people's decision. If the recollection and impressions contained in these affidavits are true, and attempts were made to bug Richard Nixon's hotel suite before the debates to affect their outcome, then the public ought to know about it. It also seems important to me, and I believe to any fair-minded person, given the sensationalism of Watergate and the vitriolic commentary of some that's being unloaded on the campaign and in some quarters on the president himself, that the public realize that the Democrats did, in fact, according to these affidavits at least, these 3 affidavits in my possession, spy on an official of the Republican National Committee, and then they approached an inspector of the Washington Metropolitan Police Department to gain his cooperation in bugging Republican rooms at the then Watergate, Wardman, excuse the Freudian slip, Wardman Park Hotel. Fair play dictates that the United States immediately conduct, the United States Senate immediately conduct an investigation into the charges contained in the attached affidavits. It seems to me in fairness that this investigation be conducted before the television cameras at that committee with the appropriate parties under oath. And to the extent that any of the allegations contained in the affidavits are true, it is my fervent hope that they will aid this committee in its quest for legislative answers for ending once and for all illegal, unlawful, corrupt, detestable campaign activities conducted by one camp against another. And lastly, the justification for the committee's existence, you've got to keep that in mind, is to design legislation to end the kind of activity that is alleged to have occurred both in 60 and 72, and possibly even in other campaigns in other years and for other federal offices. And thus I urge the committee to begin immediately to draft appropriate legislation that will forever make clear that such activity unlawful, and to that end I offer my services and the services of the Republican National Committee. I call upon my counterpart, Bob Strauss, and his committee to do likewise, for this issue transcends even the most remote partisan consideration. It has been said before by others, but I believe it's worth repeating, that the very confidence of the people in its government is directly proportioned to their confidence in their nation's electoral process. This is a matter not to be trifled with, but one which cries out for the immediate attention of the committee, the Congress, the President, and all Americans. That's information in my possession. Courtesy dictated that they know that I had this information. I made clear to both of them at the time, in a very courteous, friendly meeting, that I reserved the right to utilize this information in whatever way possible. I don't know if any action has been taken by the Senate committee. It is my understanding that as of yesterday, Carmine Bellino was still employed by this committee. I also would like to add that nobody, unless there's leaks around here I can't control, nobody in the White House had the slightest idea that I was going to have the substance of this press conference. I deliberately and purposefully kept this investigation and this information very closely held right here in this building. There have been no leaks on it, and nobody down there, to my knowledge, knows what the subject matter of this conference is. And if they do, why, they didn't get it from me, because I have thought that it's much better that we just do this on our own. Yeah, Chris.
Mr. Bush, just what is it you're alleging as a parallel? From my quick reading of the affidavit, one guy says that Ed Jones tapped. Ed Jones's affidavit says he never tapped any Republicans, and the other guy says that he was made an offer that he turned down. Just what is it that?
Well, I'm alleging that well, I just refer to my statement on that, and just please look at that and see that the Republican National Committee was spied upon. That I'm alleging. I'm alleging that these affidavits allege that Carmine Bellino, the chief investigator of the Watergate committee, was involved in the recruitment of people to bug hotel rooms and to spy on this committee. I'd like to see it looked into to see if it's true. The statement and the affidavits speak for themselves in terms of what I'm alleging.
Ed Jones, who was referred to in one affidavit as the master bugger, says in his affidavit here, at no time during the 60 campaign did I participate in or have knowledge of telephone tapping or
surveillance efforts prior to the presidential election. Although I couldn't identify the subjects, I assume they were Republican officials. I recall that Carmine Bellino was present on one or both surveillances. I always like to see it looked into. I mean, I don't know how serious it is. Maybe some will think that it's...
He describes it,
well,
they were standing at the National Airport watching who was coming into Washington.
Well, there's an allegation in the other affidavit that talks about the big ear. I don't know what a big ear is, but I believe it's an electronic surveillance. But let's find out. There's also... Oh, I have, yeah.
Perhaps you could clarify this. Mr. Leon talks about a big ear, which sounds, it's an electronic device. Talks about that in around the middle of page 1. Then at the end of page 2, he says, although I did not participate in installation of eavesdrop
about this matter.
Well, I didn't...
He said he would like to have the committee investigated.
I didn't go into that with them. I simply presented to them in together, the two senators, and I can't comment. I'd prefer you ask them about it. I'm not going to comment on the conversation I had with them.
This information was developed and investigated by you.
Not too much, other than that it was presented to me by an attorney that this was worth looking into. You know, in this committee, we get a tremendous amount of kind of little things, people calling in, hey, did you know about this and did you know about that? Some of them we look into and some of them we don't. Most of them prove absolutely groundless and not worth checking into. But in this one, I felt it